Hey there, welcome to C&T Collectibles IMC. Hope you're doing well. This is your weekly sports card chart blast where we take a look at their favorite collectibles and the price action therein. Price is truth. All right, we're going to go through the major indices, hit on some of the highlights from the other from all the major sports, not all the major sports, most of the major sports, but we're going to be a little bit light on baseball tonight. I will be on Sports Card Anonymous. We're doing a live stream that's going to be centered on baseball. And you'll get your baseball fix there. So if you're able to, please consider joining us at his YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Central. All the baseball you can handle. So again, we'll do a couple of baseball, but it'll be mostly the other stuff today. All right, over the last period here, last week or so, soccer, entertainment, and golf are leading the way. Golf up 15%, soccer up double digits, and entertainment continues to rip up 33%. Those high-end PMGs doing the heavy lifting there. High-end collectibles in general doing pretty well as they are wont to do. The low and the mid-end, not so much. And we are starting to see as we have the past couple of weeks, a lift in baseball and football. So we'll go through some of those and see who's rising. A couple of things that are maybe interesting, and then hit the major sports here. So start this off with Hulk. Start this off by adjusting my screen, but the Marvel Retro PMG Precious Metal Gem, red out of 100. The last sale came in just a few days ago, and before it looks like the previous sale came in, towards the beginning, or what is that? A while ago, actually. It looked middle of last year, a couple $100, but now you're looking at a greater than $3,000 card, and so these things continue to rip selectively. There's some that are rolling over, but this one is not one of those. Stan Lee, Marvel Universe, one of your bigger rises within the Entertainment Index, PSA 9. Little buy it now action here. So $100 is the last sale price, kind of to the top of the range. 120 is your upside, $50 is your downside, and so there's probably more downside than upside at this current juncture here, and it is range bound until it isn't. Now, if it rockets up and breaks out, we've established a new range, and you could see something upwards of right around here is about 200 and let's see. So that's a $70 range. So 190, 200, and that comes in right at this line of previous support, which will become resistance. So range bound for now. 120 on the upside, 50 on the downside. Not sure you're getting $50 anytime soon, but if you came back a few bucks here, it would not be surprising. So if you want to save yourself a super value or something like that, just be a little bit patient. Wolverine in the Entertainment Index, one of the bigger fallers here, and so you've got his again kind of range bound here, breaking this uptrend, which I wouldn't pay attention to a whole lot. It's so thinly traded, it's just going to get bounced around for the most part. And honestly, the price $42 from that paper version in 1990. So it's if someone pays $50, they're not going to think too much of it. I don't think people are going to fine tune it too much. But either way, it sub 100, not too many people are paying for it. But when you get down to this area right here, lots of people are buying it. So if this is a card you're looking for at a PSA 9, this is close enough to your spot for the most part. Maybe a little bit lower, but I think you're getting too cute with it at that point here. And Atom Bomb. Ripping as of late here, but it's kind of at its top of its range here. So not that's the raw version. I don't think you're going to see 600 again real soon. So down in this area here, which is was that 60 or $70 or something like that. Whatever this price is, gets down there. That's more of your buy. So right now your risk reward is unfavorable on that point. That's the point I'm trying to make here. All right, $180. Probably not the price. If you're able to get it at half that, then you may be getting a bit closer on that particular card. Started off with Golf, Tiger Woods Upper Deck Classic PSA 10, one of your bigger risers for the week, up around 15% or so. Really just kind of consolidating. You had your big ramp, and then pull back to the $500 level, and then he got into an accident. Some sick people started trying to buy his cards in anticipation that I'm going to be under Tiger, and it was not. And now you've just grinded slowly. And again, I don't think it's going to hurt you. I don't know that there's a ton of upside. Again, with these with this level of volume, the up and down moves at this point anyways, there wasn't a huge card back here, but now it's a pretty big card. It's fairly iconic, and so I don't think you see spikes or these big drops it's quite precipitously. So there's other places to look if you're looking to make money, but if you're looking for this card, then the price is the price, and it's probably not hurting you, at least in the near term here. The BGS 9.5, a little more volatility, and it's quite a bit cheaper if that's what you're looking for. It's sitting around $176, where the PSA 10 was more than that. And so Your upside right now is about $300. Your downside's 100. You know, this is where we were looking at it, and it was batting around in that 100 to 180 range here. And so that's where you're up at the upper end of this range. We don't want to count that too much. Look at where most of the buying is taking place here. So closer to the top than maybe the bottom, but the trend is up, and so you may not get a crack at 100 again. But if you're patient, maybe you can do a little bit better. But right now, so it's more neutral than anything. All right, that. Football index, not the high-end index. Although, it's not going to get much higher than that Too Tall Jones, though, right? So, I suppose some of the Cowboys in the 90s, they were pretty high, but that's different. We're talking about height here. So, $27 for this card here, right at the top of the range. No one cares. So if someone pays $40, it's just not going to matter here. And are you going to wait for it to come back? You want this card, you're going to wait for it to come back down to $5 versus the 27 that's at? Probably not. So, $10 makes a big. Hey, every dollar counts, right? So that's not insignificant. Not trying to make light of it or anything like that, but if you see a nice version of this card, probably just go for it. But otherwise, yeah, you get down to like $9-10 or something like that. Maybe you saved yourself a few shekels here. I'm getting too cute with that stuff. All right, one of the bigger gainers, Jimmy Garoppolo in a PSA 10 is 2014 Topps Chrome the base, bottom range, and ripping up into an area where it's starting to get a little bit thin here. That's a big move all at once. There is buying to sustain this for the most part. Most of the buying has happened below this red line. Above this red line, gets a little thin, gets a little choppy here. So you may be looking, if you were purchasing in here, then you may be looking for the exits at this time. Joey Burrow, field level silver in a raw 299. I don't know, maybe a buy it now or something like that. Anyways, brings it back down to that $300 level where there's been buying before, and it's really thin here. So when it does get down here, it gets snapped up very quickly. So there's not a lot of willing sellers down here, and people are very eager to buy, and so you're getting closer to that. Then up here where there's just not a lot of willing buyers, and so it's kind of the opposite. So you flip this upside down, you'd say, hey, look, it's kind of a little toppy. Well, now it looks kind of bottomy. So we've seen this in his some of his other cards as well. He had that rip into the playoffs. It's like, all right, ring the register if you can, but now it's getting to a point where if you've been looking for this card, your patience may be rewarded. Dan Marino, this is the PSA 9 rookie card. Top of the range coming up, and it's getting really, really choppy here. So I don't know if you're able to get this price, but it's into an area right now currently sitting at $361 versus that $500-600 area, that high price, the really high price. Forget that right now, but $600-700. You can save yourself some pretty decent money here. There's a lot of buying in this area, so when it does get up to this $600-700 area, it's usually a quick deal. Don't be one of those quick deals. Identify your ranges. So something like this is what are we talking about, 450 or whatever? And so right now we're sitting at 360. So there could be a little bit more downside, but just again, middle of this range for the most part. When it gets up here, it's just too thin, and you know better now. You're not going to buy it there. But now it's getting close to a spot where if you want that card, you should probably battle Flipping Steve for it. All right, Patrick Mahomes, raw. Top of the range, risk reward is not favorable. Now it's favorable, so if the trend is still down, but there was buying in recent memory. There's some buying here, and back here's a couple of reference points, and so for now at least, it sets up favorably. If you start to leak below it, then it sets even more favorably, I guess. But look again, I think buyers, at least in recent memory, are stepping in pretty quick for that card, and it's not like he sucks, people. All right, high end Mickey Mantle, PSA 4, trend is up. That's that 52 Bowman. Second year, so the trend is up, broke out of this range, and it's hanging in there. This was a very quick move up to the top of the range there, so these don't come out very often, terribly often. So if you see it, maybe you just have to buy it, I guess. May not have much of an option here, but holding on to support, getting a rip, I would wait for it to come back a little bit if that's what you're looking for. You could save yourself $1,000, or so, but yeah, it's the trend is still up on that one, and people may start chasing it. Who knows? We'll see here. Say Hey, 51 Bowman, PSA 4, beautiful card here, but it's at the highest price it has ever been, and it's very thin. Only 2 people have paid this price before. A lot of people have paid this price before, so far lower than that number right there. So if you're looking for this card, you may just watch it, and sure, it could get away from you a bit here, but for now, that risk reward sets up unfavorably. Walter Payton in a PSA 9, $7,000, consolidating, and so typically this breaks in the direction of the previous trend here, and that is up, and so you see this consolidation. So we'll see what happens here. But right for now, it's at the top of the range, so you can save yourself a little bit of money on that one here. So currently $7,000. Maybe if you're patient, you get it closer to $5,000 or something like that if you're looking for this. But there's a lot of interest in this card, and you could start to see more demand than supply at some point here. Larry Magic Dr. J, PSA 8. Grinding lower, looking for something in this area. Didn't quite get there. Now you're ripping out of the range. So, excuse me, that's a big move in a short amount of time. But again, any pullbacks are probably to be bought as it breaks this downtrend line overall here. So currently at 8,500, and yeah, maybe you get the next one for decently less, but it looks like there's enough buying that people will they'll see that and say, oh, 8,000, and if it comes up for like 6 or 7, like, I can't wait to get in on that one. So maybe quick, we shall see. Sandy Koufax just consolidating. Longer term trend is up, so it's largely just consolidating. $7,500, and that's kind of the price right now. Not favorable or unfavorable for the most part. Tom Brady, mixing them in with the old guys here, that high end stuff. Yeah, he's probably always he's been in the high end index for a while here, but it's kind of weird to throw him in with Mays and Koufax and all those retired guys. So he's on his rocking chair, like, wait, what the fuck? So, anyways, downtrend, uptrend, downtrend, top of the range here. So, one sale brought it from 16 or whatever up to $18,000. So it's a pretty decent move here, but it brings you up to at least short term resistance. Again, there's just so much interest in this card, at least for the time being, that for it to utterly fall down, fall out of this range and just collapse, probably not happening here. So this is somewhere in that 16, 18 is probably good for now. I don't know if you match these lows here. A lot of these cards I'm looking at, kind of, they had their peak, they had their pullback, and as they grind lower, they're at least putting in some sort of a higher high here. So we'll see if that's the case with Mr. Brady. But right now it says sit and watch. And Cal Ripken in a PSA 10. 5,500, 5,600, something like that. Top of the range, coming up just a little bit here. So that's probably the price. You maybe get it a little bit lower, but maybe it runs away from you, right in the middle of the range. And so the probabilities are fairly neutral. Michael Jordan, PSA 8, high-end index as well. We're just keeping it going here, 8,000. So we had a little pop out of the range here. Said, you know what, if we can sustain that, that's a pretty good sign for Jordan and the rest of the market overall, but it wasn't able to happen here, and it wasn't able to happen here, so it's just back into its boring old regular price, currently sitting at about $8,200, so something like 7,800, 8,000, something like that. That's the price, and it looks like it just wants to stay there for now, not ready to get going here. Curt Schilling, bottom of the range, ripping to the top of the zone here, $120. All right. People are buying that he's not going to the Hall of Fame. I don't know. I don't understand that one, so it is what it is, but yeah, that's a rip. Someone's anticipating something, maybe. I don't know. Didn't work. So into the resistance zone here, and kind of converging with this downward trend line. So don't buy it there if you can get it. Yeah, just hang on. It's a $120 card, but at least don't pay that for it for the time being. And Pete Alonso with a nice rip here, your support zone. Big drop into this area, and it's just like that's getting a little too cheap here, people. PSA 9, the top's chrome for what, $4 or something. Someone just wants done with Pete Alonso. And stay tuned tonight. I think we're going to make the case that you shouldn't be done with Pete Alonso, but we're sticking at the top of the range here. So maybe wait just a little bit, but I mean, we're talking $20. So is what it is. But his higher end stuff, you look at his refractors and everything, those are getting a little bit of love here. So Jarred Kelenic, chrome batting, PSA 9 with a bump here. So we have the downtrend broken, kind of messing around just a little bit. And now we're sitting up at short-term resistance here. So if there was spring training, people might get a little bit more excited and say, oh, look at what he could do this year. But we don't. So it's at resistance right now. So it's kind of a wait-and-see type deal. But again, $40. So if someone pays $50, sure isn't going to be, that wouldn't be a big, that's not going to, it'll look great on the chart, but it's not a big deal overall. So anyways, that seems like a decent enough price, but somewhere between $30-$40. And you probably do want a piece of him because he can do better than last year. He can't do worse. So Reggie Jackson with a monster dive. So it just gets so thin up in this area, that $2,000-$3,000 area, that you don't do much with it. But when it comes back to this $850 area, seems like heck, the risk reward sets up very, very good. Now, there's a lot of buying in this area, so it could continue to leak lower, $600 or something like that. So it's not a sure thing by any stretch, but for now, at least, it's like, all right, at least have it on your radar, I guess. So, all right, Wayne Gretzky sneaking out of his range here, so thin that the trend lines don't really matter. Really, this area's just been a lot of buying. So with these big cards, the PSA 2, it's if you buy, again, you're probably not getting hurt a ton, but you're probably not making a ton of money. But there it is. It's at least moving a little bit. skate to where the puck is, right? Dominic Hasek, PSA 9 with a nice little lift here. So we covered him in the hockey video, but I forget if it was this card or if it was the 10, and forget if it looked good or bad. I don't remember. So right now it looks good. So all right, you missed the bottom a little bit, but again, we're talking about $35. Not going to hurt you. But Dominator, looks like there's some upside on that one, and a little bit of love being shown his direction here. Quinn Hughes, Young Gun, PSA 9, sneaking out of the range again. Has not been a good spot to buy in the past. It may not be again this time with this move here. So again, I'm not expecting like a lower or anything like that, but perhaps you get a little bit cheaper. But again, $80, so maybe $50-$60 or something like that. Who knows? Maybe it keeps going. So moving on to Eddie Belfour, top of the range, coming back down. No price memory there, so it's like, don't touch it, or at least give yourself a very short leash. You weren't able to do that because the next sale just came right back into this area here. So there it is, Eddie Belfour, decent risk reward set up. And Elias Peterson, PS 810, bottom of the range here, getting choppy. So who knows where this next sale comes in. It is a downtrend. It is sitting at a weak level of support, but a support nonetheless. And that's not the worst price in the world for a PSA 10 Young Gun. All right, get into some baseball here. Again, a little bit of baseball. Watch that live stream tonight if you want more baseball than you can handle. All right, Mike Trout, PSA 10, $2,600, $2,700 or something like that. So sitting at the bottom of the range here. We'll get these spikes here and then, but this is mostly the price. So if you do see a spike, something up to $3,000, don't feel like you have to chase it because the market hasn't proven that it wants to sustain that level yet here. So looks like that's the number for now if you are looking for that card, and you should be looking for that card. He's really good. So Topps Chrome update, Juan Soto, top of the range, going to come off just a little bit here, it looks like. So 280, maybe like 260, something like that. So could see a little bit of downside over the next couple transactions, and probably a decent buying opportunity for one of the great young players. Keep that population number in mind here for the next couple. A little over 11,000 in the PSA 10. It's a healthy number here. And Fernando Tatis, population 10,000, but look at his price right now. He's sitting at $177, and so what was Soto, 260 or something like that? I think he was. Yeah, I think 285. So similar population, actually a little bit less on Fernando Tatis. And what if he has a better season? We'll see. It could happen here, sitting near the bottom of the range. So when we talk about prices being cheap or inexpensive, this card's cheap. This card's expensive. It has to be kind of relative, right? Cheap is more relative. Inexpensive is like absolute. And so when we look at Fernando Tatis relative to Juan Soto, we would say that considering their age, their past, what they're projected to do, what they've done. Soto maybe should be a little bit more expensive, but on a relative basis, and we consider population as well, Tatis could be cheap relative to Soto. So now, if it was $1,000 card, or so let's say on a relative basis again, it's cheap. Now let's say we wanted like a Keston Hiura, Chrome rookie at a PSA 10, and it was like $50. You wouldn't say it's cheap. You would just say it's inexpensive. And $50 in this hobby, not the biggest deal in the world, but that card, the way he's going, is probably like a $5 card. And so you say, all right, that's an expensive card. So cheap is more relative, inexpensive is more absolute. Don't know why I went off on that one. I just keep hearing those terms thrown around. It's like, it could be a little more nuanced than that, I think, here. So, all right, Ronald Acuna, here's another one, population of 1,300. It doesn't really apply here because he's got a ton of rookie cards. He's got this one, he's got the updates, Chrome, all that good stuff here. And even with Tatis, maybe it has to be lower because he's got the update rookie as well. So that could be another factor here. But again, I think it should be perhaps there should be a little bit more price into the Tatis cards here. But Ronald Acuna, PSA 10, the refractor. Bottom of the range, he's starting to lift out of that one, so starting to get a little bit of a rip here into a zone where there's been some minor support here. So as of recently, again, not a lot of buying in this area, so you're kind of there. I don't know if you're ringing the register on it, because I think if he comes out and it just does what he did, he doesn't have to do what he did last year, because that was insane, but you could start to see a rip out of that one. But anyways, the risk reward sets up pretty favorable in here, now starting to crawl out of that range, so maybe we see some chasing. And Lou Bob, this is the X-Fractor in a raw, so a lot of his cards, the regular refractor and the chromes, they're just stagnant. They're just kind of crawling along. With the X-Fractors, especially in the higher grades, really seem to be holding up a little bit better, perhaps. Now, this one's just gone sideways as well, but it is creeping into an area where there hasn't been a ton of buying in the past. So you could say it's right around its highs overall. So, all right, football, Joey Burrow. Yeah, and we've talked about him enough, breaking the downtrend and ripping up into an area. This is the raw version, so not the PSA 10, but matched its previous all-time high, and selling immediately came in and it ground all the way down. But now you get into a spot where it's like, yeah, this could be, looking at some other cards as well, it could be kind of interesting. Justin Bear base, that's also a raw, trending lower, kind of at resistance here, but again, it's in a spot where perhaps it's worth the risk reward. Whenever it gets much lower than this, it gets snapped up pretty quickly. So you're again hoping for a one-off perhaps, or you just buy it and hold your nose. So it's not $72 again. End of the world? Not really. Cooper Cup last sale coming in a little bit light here. So it's been more of a one-off lately. You got a lot of people that kind of think this is the price, and then you get these one-offs that come in here. So still really expensive card. So in absolute and relative terms, I suppose, looking at other receivers, like that's really up there. Can he repeat what he just did? That's going to be a tall ask here. So, but again, if it gets too much lower, then it's at least sets up pretty well here. All right, basketball, Steph Curry, PSA 9. He looked good in the playoff game. What did he have, like 87 3-pointers or something like that? So those games count, right? Anyways, looks healthy at least, and so there's your support, getting a little bit of a lift on there. Score doesn't set up super favorably right now, but I mean it's at least it's a fairish price. I mean it's just how the price has been for a long time. So end of the world, it is not. Trae Young continues to grind lower at the bottom of the range, and really he's been grinding along the bottom of the range for a while here, and it hasn't mattered. So it's tough to say I'll look for a rocket or anything like that. But I thought he was doing well, but who knows? Bottom of the range, and that's a falling knife at this point. So good luck to you if that's what you're doing. John Morant, PSA 10. Nice little uptrend, still in a consolidation, but again below that $200 level, it's a buy. Above 200, you can kind of hang out with it, and it's at least trending up. We want to see a sustained break above that $300 level and kind of hold it before we get super excited. The Joker having himself a good season into what's near-term resistance, coming back off now, kind of near-term support. And that risk reward sets up favorably. Connor McDavid. I thought I had another card here. I'm pretty sure I do. Give me 1 second. I did tall putty tad. All right. So Luka Doncic. This is the silver here. All right. Uptrend, downtrend. Broken the downtrend. So we can start to look for some consolidation in this card. Now, again, investing is not about managing the returns. It's about managing the risk overall. So you protect your capital. You can do all right here. So $2,700. Not saying this is the bottom. Who knows? It's kind of a weird spot for that to happen, but there's enough buying in this area that and you see like the base card is actually getting a little bit of a lift here, and that will put some upward pressure on this one if they start to get too close. But $2,700 is your most recent sales at the bottom of this range here. So if it starts to go below that, then the downtrend continues. But you've got a couple of things happening here. Again, breaking the downtrend and starting to flatten out just a little bit. So again, you don't have to guess whether or not it's the bottom. You just have to say, all right, $2,700, that's the sale here, and probabilities if it goes lower, then it continues to grind lower. And so he's playing pretty well here. This is a reasonable setup if you've been looking for this card. Just that's kind of your line in the sand. All right, now we can do Connor McDavid, who, a little fake breakdown here. Now he's starting to get some love again. So, hoping you get a little shot down here if that's what you wanted, but it's pretty thin. It doesn't last very long, and this is more of your area here. So even this isn't the worst price in the world. There's been a lot of action in that one here. So this was better, but this isn't the worst thing in the world. So currently sitting at a couple grand. This is the BGS 9.5. You can see the same in the PSA 10. So it's been a couple $100, but if you want this card longer term, probably should be okay. Alexander Ovechkin, hanging around, what is it, $7,000 is kind of your line in the sand on this one, and it continues to maintain there. So there it is. Leon Draisaitl, we got some of the scoring leaders. Here's your points leader right here. So in an area where there's been selling in the past, but the way it's going, it's like, well, as long as it hangs out in here, you're at the bottom of the range, could see a little bit of love to the upside. But not a lot of action here, so it's tough to say what's going to happen one way or another. Jonathan Huberdeau, another one, I don't know if he just were people looking for him to be like the top 3 scorer or something like that, or top 3 points leader, top 3 or 4 in points. So absolutely ripping out of the range here and continues to grind higher. And a guy that's not too far behind him, just a few points behind him, Johnny Gaudreau, hasn't done the same. So is this the next one to pop overall? All right. So, anyways, sorry about that. So Hibberdoo is ripping this one. He is not a little bit older, so maybe the long term picture isn't quite as clear, but good season nonetheless. And gotta love the Flames jerseys here. All right, and we'll wrap it up with a couple goofy ones here. Pokemon Ancient Immune PSA 9. Is this a breakout? We've seen these before, and especially lately, they're not really holding. So you look at like the Jordans and all those, they break out and they come back in. This is probably more of a resistance. The recent sale brought it up pretty nicely here. So this is probably more of resistance, and it may be like more like this sale right here where it comes back in. But this breakout would be a big sign for the Pokemon hobby. And C3PO PSA 8 coming off of $600. You can get it for $400, going just a little bit limp here. So that's what I got for you. Hopefully see you tonight, and have a great rest of the day. See ya.